He's already an all-time great, already now.
Yeah.
Or not just a great of his generation, an all-time great.
When you're dealing with Tyson, you're not dealing with a normal human being.
I see it being a knockout. That's 110%.
I'm waiting for your old side when this is finished, right?
If there's ever a person who can overcome all these odds, it's Tyson Fury.
Hello and welcome to Usyk versus Fury 2, No Glove Lost. I am Wally Downs, the Sun's boxing reporter, Riyadh regular and Jake Paul superfan, and I have a magnificent corner team working this show right out of the John Fury mould. David Adelaide is the English heavyweight champion, a former Tyson Fury sparring partner and a boxing heartthrob. Barry Jones is Wales's former super featherweight world champion, DAZN's best pundit, who's suffering from a bit of heartburn today. And Dan Morley is British boxing's most famous unknown, whose excellent boxing channels are followed by legends like Carl Froch and Sugar Ray Leonard, but he still can't get a welterweight opponent for York Hall. Between the four of us, we have 40 professional wins, nicked a vacant WBO title and made 0 defences, but we're going to spend the next hour trying to explain to you all of Fury and Usyk's weaknesses and what these two giant icons should do to win their mouth-watering rematch. Shameless, isn't it? But that's boxing. David, you have the best seat in the house in terms of knowing about Tyson Fury. You've been a sparring partner for him before when he had the big Deontay Wilder fights. What did you think was going to happen going into the first Fury-Usyk fight, and how wrong or right were you?
Yeah, obviously I was wrong. I thought Fury would pull it off. I just thought Fury would kind of impose himself a bit more. As a natural heavyweight, someone that's 6'9", going against someone that's 6'3", I think Fury's size would have played a bigger part. But yeah, look, I was wrong, but I suppose the fight wasn't one-sided, so I wasn't completely wrong. I knew it was going to be a tough night for him. And yeah, look, I'm looking forward to the rematch to see what changes he implements into his camp.
Barry, you would have been there working for DAZN. As the veteran of this table, you would have heard Tyson Fury's name before any of us. When did you first hear Tyson Fury's name? And again, yeah, what did you think would happen in that fight?
Well, I didn't hear about him as an amateur when he first turned professional, and he was doing on terrestrial TV, and that's like everyone else pretty much. That's the first time I saw him, and I wasn't massively impressed. And nobody was. Yeah. You think where he is now, how good he is now, and how adaptable he is. When you saw him, he just looked like a guy who was big, had fast hands, not loads of power, but made so many mistakes that ultimately, when he moved up a level, they were going to be just massively highlighted and he was going to get knocked out. You just couldn't think any other way because he had been dropped and been hurt a few times. Yeah. But you just don't factor in, I mentioned already, his adaptability and how he can just adapt round by round, second by second throughout his career. He's shown that. And through all those mistakes and all the opportunities that he gives fighters is where the magic is. He doesn't take a shot great. I don't think he holds a shot any better than any other heavyweight. Yeah. But his powers of recovery are what set him apart. No, and we've seen that in the Wilder first fight where he was out and asleep. He was laying next to me. I mean,
but how crazy do you think it is, Barry, if you can imagine being 6'9",
I'd like to be 5'9",
and 19 stone, and don't get me wrong, he's a supreme, unreal talent, but he's 6 inches shorter, and he's probably 3 stone lighter. Would you mess around for 3 rounds and have your hands behind your back, or you would impose yourself, wouldn't you?
Well, you would, but you think you would, and of course you would. But I mean, I think Usyk's a little bit like Canelo. Canelo's a 5'7". He says, if he is, he's a 5'7", light heavyweight, super middleweight.
Same as me.
But when he gets in the ring, he turns into a 6'4" super middleweight. Yeah. His presence, he just intimidates you with his size and his presence, and maybe his reputation. He looks a bigger figure in the ring, and so his shadow makes you back up. He takes the ring very quickly, and as a cruiserweight, Oleksandr Usyk, he would bully you with that front foot. You put it right in the centre of your stance because he was big for a cruiserweight, and he would block and counter, and he would physically impose himself on you. As a heavyweight, he hasn't been able to do that, but what he does well is the fidgety movements. So David mentioned about the mental, how much the game is mental. But concentration is key in boxing, and concentration takes a lot of you physically, tires you out. Constantly having to think, using your brain, constantly looking at stuff. And most heavyweights, the fear factor is getting hit. I mean, they make a mistake, they're asleep, but they don't really have to look for the target very often because it's right in front of you. You've got 2 massive guys. But Oleksandr Usyk is a constantly moving target. He's up and down, and he's side to side, and he's in and out. So for heavyweights, that's an adaptation that's quite difficult to make. So they're not having to just worry about not getting caught and get knocked out. they're having to look for the target. And that makes you have to engage your brain more than you used to. And that tires you out. So then with that, you make a mistake, you miss, and then he counters, it puts you in retreat. But when Oleksandr Usyk runs out to the centre of the ring, starts feinting, fidgeting, moving constantly, you throw a shot and he counters off with a 3-punch combination, and then he steals your space. And then you have to do it again, and he steals your space again. Before you know it, you're on the ropes, and then you have to fire out of necessity. I mean, I've gone down a little snake hole here, but that's what happens.
Snake hole?
Yeah. but that's...
You must put a rabbit down.
Yeah. But he is the rabbit. He was calling him the rabbit, wasn't he?
Dan, anyone who's clever enough to follow your social channels will see so many great old clips of generational fighters. For me, the strangest thing about Tyson Fury right now is there was a long period where he was most famous for uppercutting himself, saying crazy things, a masterclass against Klitschko, but, tapping and moving. Right now, having covered his career, getting off the floor against Wilder, certainly in the first fight, I've never seen anything like it. And the 9th round against Usyk, when it looks like his body has shut down from that shot and he retreats to the ropes and he looks done. And by that time, he's a multi-millionaire that doesn't have to stay on his feet for anything. It seems strange that right now, or in 50 years' time, that's what I'm going to remember about Tyson Fury. I can imagine that if I was to click onto your accounts in 50 years, it won't be the incredible footwork or the trash talk. It will be how he stayed in those 2 fights.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Barry said, he's a bit of an enigma, really, because he does so much wrong, but he gets away with it. He is 6'9", but he moves like a much smaller man. But yeah, the standout for me, like you say, is the powers of recovery. We were saying earlier, like I kind of liken it to Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes would get hit with a shot where you would just think it's over. One. Yeah, the Shavers one. I think Witherspoon done him as well, and he was all over the ring. And then the next round, he's coming back and firing back. And that's what boxing is all about, really. Obviously you want to win. It's a technical thing, but it's about the heart. And yeah, I mean, and that's one of the reasons you can never write him off, because he's going to be in there. He's proved it time after time. And I even saw a few people saying that fight should have been stopped in the 9th round. And I thought, no, it's an undisputed heavyweight title fight. Yeah. And the geezer's proved that he can do this time after time. So yeah, he's brilliant to watch, brilliant powers of recovery.
Usyk was an incredible undisputed cruiserweight, but he didn't really ice too many of his opponents. Most of those were good fights that went the distance. Yeah. Should we be surprised that Fury was getting hurt by a 14 stone 4 man? And don't get me wrong, he's filled into 16 stone and he looks incredible. But did that surprise you that Fury was hurt by him?
So the thing is, once you get to a certain weight, I think anyone can get hurt. And you look at certain fighters. Now, Usyk, we don't know what cruiserweight division was doing to him, whether it was draining him, whether he felt strong in that division. Yeah, he kept up the footwork and he was getting the dubs in that division, but was it taking a lot out of him to make the weight? Yeah. And look, as a heavyweight, he doesn't have to make weight. So he's obviously walking around at a weight he's comfortable at. He's weighing in at a weight he's comfortable at. And look, when people are getting hit with the same shot over and over again, it's going to take its toll. You keep tapping that brick wall, it's going to go over sooner or later. So I think when he's landed on these big boys and he's weighing so much more, it's going to come a time where obviously they're going to have to probably go over.
Well, one man that can tell us everything that maybe Usyk has taken away from Tyson or that his first defeat has reignited in him is Andy Lee, who's joining us, I assume, from just finishing Tyson's camp. Andy, how you doing?
Doing good, Wally. How are you guys?
Not too bad, thank you. Have you been out and chopped that tree down, or have you bought it out of a box from the attic?
That's from my own garden. No, that's actually a real tree, but it's from the local hardware store.
We believe that the camp has just finished up in Malta. Have you gone home for a little bit to see the family before you go out to Riyadh?
Yeah, I was only in the camp for a week. I had commitments here in Dublin, but I just went over to check in and see how he was looking, and he was looking very good. I think Sugar Hill's doing a very good job. They were kind of right on close to peaking at the right time, so they made some adjustments. You could see that. I could see that straight away. Not to give too much away, but they've made adjustments, and I think that'll be quite good for him.
I know I'm trying to keep this simple, and it's the most difficult thing in the world to do, but the idea is that if Tyson is more aggressive and assertive from the first round, he will win. But I mean, if it was that easy, AJ would have done it and Dubois would have done it. It's how you make that pressure, too much for Usyk to handle somehow.
Yeah. It's a very difficult fight for both of them in a way, and that's, put it in plain and simple terms, that would be the logical approach, that Tyson either does what he does for the first 7 rounds, or he puts more pressure on and keeps Usyk on the back foot. But Usyk's an incredible fighter, and the one thing that people aren't, don't really take as hard to calculate is the mental strength of Usyk and how he finds a way to win. And even before the round, he landed that good punch, which was round 8, round 7, round 8. He was starting to look a bit lost, Usyk, to me, and somehow he just found that punch, and then that gave him the incentive to carry on in that way. But it's a very close fight, no matter what way. It was close the first time. It'll be close the second time, I believe, and it'll be about the small adjustments that you can make. And in rematches, it's the ones who make those small adjustments. I think Usyk was, as people have said, Usyk was very good on the night, and there's probably a lot more room for Tyson to be better than he was, as compared to Usyk being better than he was on the night in May. So there's a lot of improvements Tyson can make, but I think Usyk, for him, will be trying to do the same thing. I don't think there'll be a different approach from Usyk.
When you talk about Usyk's strength of mind and character, I remember you telling great stories about taking Tyson to the Kronk for the first time, and his singing and his boxing, amazing everyone. A first professional loss like that, I guess the arguments and what we'll see from the first bell is, has it re-energised him, reinvigorated him, brought the challenger mindset back, or has Oleksandr Usyk taken something away from him that he'll never get back?
Yeah, these are all the questions, but only he will know, and
did you see anything different of him in this week? Did you notice anything different?
No, he's very determined, very confident, very sure of himself. But I know from my own experience and from watching boxing, fighters are always a little bit hesitant after a loss. They're not as sure of themselves. But when you're dealing with Tyson, you're not dealing with a normal human being or a normal fighter. You're dealing with a unique person, and that's what I keep coming back to, is that I trust the man, and from our camp side, I trust the man. I know how great he is and what's inside him, how strong he is mentally himself, and that's like, there's the battle on the outside, which everyone can see, the hands and the feet moving and the head moving and the boxing. But then there's the battle inside, which will be between them two, the battle of wills. And it just makes for a fascinating fight, really.
Andy, what's been different between this camp and the camp for the first fight?
He was doing a lot more rounds. He was doing rounds. Like, he had the cut after the first initial camp, and then he had that cut. So he had to be very careful going into the fight in May. Couldn't really spar open and spar properly. So that's a huge benefit to him this time. It was a huge detriment to him going into the last fight, but this time around he's been able to spar and prepare better. And then making small adjustments, just small movements with the feet, hand positioning, he's going to be. You have to be extremely fit to fight Usyk, because that's how he fights. The mental concentration has to go along with physical conditioning. They have to be hand in hand. They have to, you can't concentrate if you're getting tired. And you're going to get tired unless you're fit. So the fitness has improved immensely. I believe from what I saw, he's doing 12 rounds pretty consistently. And small adjustments technically as well will make a difference for Tyson.
And do you think because he's been in with Oleksandr Usyk now, he understands to cope with that pressure, that intense pressure that he puts on you? Will be a help to him now? Yeah,
and like everyone says, back him up, Barry. But it's much easier. It's that's saying it and doing it is two different things, isn't it? When Usyk's always in position to punch, and he's always there pressuring you pressuring you to punch because he gets in within your range, and then you feel the anxiety to punch, and then he steps back with his feet, and then he comes again with counters over the top. So being ready all the time, no breaks in between. That's the hardest challenge for most boxers, you know.
I know one of his sparring partners, Finelli, very good fighter.
Finelli's
was together
flashy
in
and
Puerto Rico.
fast. Yeah, he had a young Russian kid there who's 23 or 4, who was European and world amateur champion, who Sugar Hill trains as well. Before that, he had Mosai Tuma there and Kevin Lorena. He's got Alexei there from Canada, but they're very, very similar to Usyk, especially the Russian kid and Alexei.
At the October launch press conference for this rematch, Andy, Tyson gave us a really great interview, and he was incredibly honest about one particular subject, and he was only honest with the British press on the promise that we did not use the word excuse about it, and we didn't. We stood by that, but he explained that in the week of the fight, Paris had a miscarriage, and he also explained that this wasn't an early miscarriage. This was well into it, and it was heartbreaking to hear, and we was really grateful that he was so honest. And again, we will not ever write that he called it an excuse, but I mean, she hid it from him for as long as she could, and I think he said he even went to the ring without actually knowing it for sure, but he believed it. Being around him, knowing the family as well as you do, and not saying it is an excuse, but could you see it, how it must have had an effect on him as a human being?
I never heard. I wasn't aware of it. I knew she was expecting a child, and even she's always at the fights, and I was expecting her to be there, really. And then when she wasn't there, I thought, oh, maybe she can't fly, or something like that. But then Tyson never mentioned it. Tyson never mentioned it once, but he was very quiet. Even the day of the fight, we went in the afternoon. Fights take place so late over there, so it must have been around 6 or 7 p.m. We all went for a walk, and he was very quiet. We had a good chat, me and him, and just talking about his career and how far he'd come, and what this moment meant to him. But there was a certain quietness to him, or maybe a sadness, but that was probably playing on his mind. So all these, listen, when you watch your fight, you're just seeing the fight, but the months and weeks leading up to that fight dictate how the fight turns out, how it goes for you. So being cut, not having a full proper training camp, but then maybe having something like that in the back of your mind, it all leads into your performance. And for me, which was quite telling, was, I don't know, when Tyson makes his ring walk, I'll go to the ring first. I won't go on the ring walk with him. The rest will stand there. I'll go to the ring, make sure I'm in the ring before Tyson gets to the ring, to give him water and just be there, have someone to meet him in the ring. So I watched Usyk come into the ring and his crew and all the team, and he was quite settled in himself, Usyk. He was quite focused and present. And when Tyson got into the ring, I could see somebody who was quite a little bit agitated, and I think all those little things that were going on in the build-up to the fight maybe were playing on his mind, or just having that little bit of anxiety maybe about him. But I could see, if you watch the fight back before the fight, he wasn't really himself, like where usually he's quite within himself. So yeah, it was just an interesting insight, something I noticed straight away when he got into the ring.
Hi, Andy. Yeah, I was going to say, one of the talking points that came from after the fight was people were saying there were too many voices in the corner towards the end, different things being told. Do you know if Tyson will still have that many people in the corner? And how much of an effect do you think that played?
I think it did have some effect on him. I think towards the end of the fight, especially when you're in a battle like that and you're fighting for your life, really. There was 3 or 4 different voices in the corner, one being Sugar Hill and one being John Fury, and then towards the end was me. But it was fine. I can understand from a dad's point of view, he's trying to protect his son. From Sugar Hill's point of view, he's trying to win the fight. From my point of view, I was told he was 2 rounds down going into the last round, And I just had to communicate that to him. I said, you have to win these last 2 rounds, and you win these 2 rounds, you win the fight. So that was it. But I think we'll take a different approach this time. I don't know. Who knows what'll happen?
For what it's worth, I sided with you there. I thought he needed to go out and push those last 2 rounds just from watching it. And then when I heard, look, just box, stay away, I thought,
But I remember seeing an interview that Shane did, Shane's brother, Tyson's brother, where he said that isn't a boxing coach in the corner. That's a man who's watched his son survive that 9th round, and wants him to and watch the Wilder fights. Maybe that's when you shouldn't have a dad in the corner. Maybe, but that's a man protecting his son.
Yeah, there's always that emotional connection, which. Yeah.
And to be fair, because Tyson lost his dad, his dad spent some time in prison and missed. I remember John telling us about being in a prison cell and having to listen to the fights on the radio or learn about the results. I would be amazed if Tyson would ever say, don't be around dad, because he's had that period where it was enforced on him.
And it's coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
What was Andy, what was the camp like, or the corner like in that 9th round? I mean, was it hectic when Usyk was obviously getting the upper hand?
Yeah, it was. Sugar was quite focused, because Sugar, David, and I was looking at Sugar maybe grab the towel. The way it was going, there was a couple of moments there that were quite. It was, but being for the Undisputed title, maybe Sugar just held that back, and probably rightly so. In the end, it was the right decision. But yeah, it was. Listen, I'm very close to Tyson, and to see him hurt like that, but also to admire him to come back from it. You know what I mean? Like he's done so many times. He's been hurt before. But usually they're just like flash knockdowns. He'll get up, he'll be on the floor, he'll be fully conscious, and he'll just get himself up and shake himself off and go straight back to boxing. But you could see in that round it was really hard.
There was another moment at that press conference, Andy, after we'd spoken to Tyson privately. It was all on the stage, and maybe these fellas before this told me I was totally wrong. But the old Tyson who turned up to the Klitschko presser dressed as Batman and really dominated Wilder in the media events. Tyson sat up on the stage, and it was Usyk who arrived dressed as a villain, and he got out a briefcase and he walked across to Tyson, and it's a big photo of that punch. And he said, sign them, and Tyson signed them. And maybe I'm totally looking too far into it, but I felt like the old Tyson might have ripped them up or grabbed the pen and drawn a rude picture on it. And I don't know, I'm probably just overanalyzing, but it just felt like maybe not the changing of the guard, but that maybe Tyson had changed a little bit, or maybe that little bit of showmanship or ego had maybe just gone a little bit.
Yeah, that is interesting, and it is all mental warfare with this stuff. Tyson being announced first, walking out, and then Usyk coming in. And, if you look from Tyson's point of view, he doesn't want to be there. He drove down from Morecambe, being driven down from Morecambe, and he's like, I had to get up at 5 a.m. to come here and do this thing, which I've done a million times. And it's like, I'll do it all again next week whenever the fight week comes. So he's trying to just give it as less energy as possible. But then probably regrets, when you see Usyk coming in looking really cool in that suit and stuff, the Hitman outfit and all that. So, yeah, you might be right. It is like the one thing, like, I don't think it's bothered Tyson, but I always call Tyson the puppet master, because he can control these guys in these press conferences and weigh-ins and different interviews, because when he's nice, they're nice. When he's aggressive, they're aggressive. Like with Wilder, he just had him on the string, and I've seen him with similar opponents. You know what I mean? Like Chisora. Chisora's a very controversial character. Back all throughout the years, back when he was like slapping Klitschko's and different stuff, and like Tyson just had him, the puppet master. But he has not. I don't think he's been able to do that yet with Usyk. I'm not sure if that bothers him. I'm not sure if he cares really too much about it. I had a few days and the day before I left, we were training. We were talking about it. I said, "You're right on course. The way you're shaping up, you're looking. It's going to come together right at the right time for you." And he was like, Andy, I'm going to kill this guy. I'm going to actually go through. I'm going to destroy. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like for him, it's like, what is everyone worried about? And I know, I mean, and discussing about and contemplating, like, you know, tactics and strategies. And he said, I'm just going to go through him. What's everyone talking about? And then I was like, oh, yeah, he's actually right. You know, and I believe him 100% dead. You know what I mean? So I trust the man. I know there's so many questions hanging over it now. Conditioning, age, you know, wear and tear, coming back from a defeat, being hurt, up against this universal boxer of Usyk, who's never lost, Olympic champion, cruiserweight, undisputed, now world champion, heavyweight, undisputed. But I just believe in the man, and if anyone can do it, if there's ever a person who can overcome all these odds, it's Tyson Fury, because he is a special individual.
I think the worry, Andy, I think ultimately what I'm trying to say without upsetting you, but you're too far away, so it doesn't matter. That's it. But yeah, I felt that. But you can't keep going to the well, which he clearly has done so well, so good throughout his career.
These are questions I've asked myself as well, you know, with the first fight. And when you look at it, you know, Dillian Whyte, Chisora, Ngannou. Dillian Whyte was a great knockout in the end, but up to that point, it was a good boxing match. You know, they were having a good go. Tyson was ahead winning the rounds, but it was Chisora, maybe, you know, Chisora's his friend. You know, I don't think he was going out there to hurt Chisora, really. To be honest with you. Ngannou, yeah, bad night in the office. Very, very strong man. Underestimated him, got clipped, but boxed and won the fight, which is fine. But there are questions. Yeah, you know, what is he now, Tyson? 35, 36? So it's... And the thing is, after the first fight, you think, is he over the hit? And not really, because he showed like, he hasn't got that many miles on the clock, because he hasn't had a lot of hard fights. You know what I mean? Really, he's had the third fight with Wilder, he took a few. He hasn't had a tremendous amount of hard fights. You know what I mean? Really, I don't know. But it's either, is he past his prime, or is he not fit enough? And
yeah,
I think the answer was he wasn't fit enough in the first fight, because he couldn't spar, he couldn't do the training the way he had to do. You know, you can do all the training in the world, as all you guys know. You can do all the training in the world, but until you actually sparring, boxing fit, it's completely different from running fit, or hitting the bag fit.
It's being fit and being conditioned, isn't it, Andy? That's the difference.
Andy, if I could just ask you one question, and we'll leave you to enjoy your Christmas. I would never throw any old boxer's quotes at you to react to, but it's another Kronk disciple in Lennox Lewis, who I spoke to this week. I asked him what it would be like knowing that Anthony Joshua he's not taken the Dubois rematch instantly. It looks like AJ is going to sit out, as he's earned the right to do, and wait for this Tyson Fury fight to happen. And we believe it probably would be a 2-fight rivalry, the biggest fight in British boxing history. Tyson even said when he got hit by Dubois, he's done me for 150 million. So we know the figures that are being talked about. Lennox just felt that it would not be an ideal distraction, knowing that that's there. I mean, it's either a beautiful carrot to have dangling over, or is it a negative where win, lose or draw, Tyson knows he's got another 500 million sitting around the corner?
Yeah, Tyson's always going to have a few million sitting around anyway. You know what I mean? Like, if he fights Joe Soap, there's going to be some money in it. You know, more than we'll ever get or ever see. So, no, I don't. I think it could be quite confident in saying that no matter what happens, you know, it could take the pressure off the Usyk fight in a way. That's probably how I'd feel. Like, no matter what happens, there's a fallback for me. But this fight with Anthony Joshua has been proposed and so close to happening so many times over the last, I don't know how many years. You know, I've been with Tyson. There's been deals made, like all agreed upon, and for some reason it'll fall apart at the last minute. So I don't think he can rely on this fight ever happening really until they're actually in the ring. So I think he's got to focus on Usyk. It's the biggest job, you know, for him, for his. He don't think about legacy, but I think for his legacy, if he can come back and win this, he'll just go down it. Like, he's already a legend. He's a Hall of Famer, but just to put the cherry on the top, or the star on the tree behind me, it'll be beautiful. It'll be beautiful. So I'm looking forward to seeing him do it.
Andy, that's the perfect sign-off. Thank you for all of your time, and I look forward to seeing you in Riyadh.
Have a good one, Andy.
God bless.
Cheers, Andy. Well, thank you very much to DAZN for sorting us out, pundit and former world champion Andy Lee. Fellas, I've been interviewing Andy for a long time. I shouldn't be surprised by how honest he is about stuff. And I really did mean that about Tyson telling us about what Paris went through when he was so adamant that we didn't say Fury used as an excuse. Knowing that he had the cut, knowing that he didn't really spar properly, knowing that he didn't have a proper camp and that he suffered that. We're not here to give him an excuse, but my God, he had enough, Dave. I mean,
100%.
You're a fighter. I don't think you're a father yet, but my God, what he's been through to go and do that is seismic.
Yeah, he came up against it, you know. Like you said, he's obviously battling his own sort of battles outside of the ring. And then he's coming up against the undisputed cruiserweight, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, when you get to that level, it's about the 1%.
Yeah.
And I think, even though it's 1%, it makes a big difference, especially at that level. Yeah.
One of the things we're not touching upon, I know they've both had rematches, but Fury's always performed a lot better in rematches typically. I mean, Chisora, he beat Chisora outright pretty much every time.
John McDermott was a big
improvement. John McDermott, he went out and stopped him in the
first one
rematch.
Was terrible.
But the Deontay Wilder fight, you know, in the first fight, having come back after a few sort of tune-up fights, no one really expected him to box as well as he did. He done well, he got caught a few times, made a few mistakes, but he came out like a man on a mission in the rematch. And I think Andy touched upon I love listening to Andy because he's so honest about things, so you can get stuff out of it.
Yeah.
But he touched upon an interesting point. We kind of look at Tyson's career as if it's been really hard. He's had all these really hard fights. But they're moments. Granted, moments do take it out of you. If you take a shot like that in the 9th and you're out on your feet, you know, it takes it out of you. But obviously coming back from that first Wilder fight, he's shown that he can get over that on a mental basis. He still has the confidence in himself. And with that, and knowing that Usyk can't really do much more than he did in the first fight, which is obviously enough to win, having the size advantage as well. I don't know, I just think that I'm intrigued by Fury. I'm intrigued how he's going to approach this fight. As I say, Usyk is brilliant. He's one of the great, he's an all-time great already.
Yes.
And when people were saying about Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, look how well Daniel Dubois pressured Hrgovic and Joshua.
Yeah.
They couldn't get hold of him. They were saying, just walk him down. It's not easy against
I was
Usyk.
just about to say that. It's easy to say impose yourself and do certain things, but it's not actually that easy. And kind of echoing what you said as well, it takes a lot out of you mentally. You've got to stay focused as well. I think that's where Fury's kind of got to stay more switched on than ever, and uses size advantage more than ever, because yes, it's not easy to pressure him, but if you can get the 1% and if you can do it for 10 seconds, see, this is the thing when you in boxing, a lot of people work with rounds, but when you get to a certain level, you can't work within the rounds. You've got to work within the minutes and the seconds in the rounds. You've got to win the 20 seconds, you've got to win the 30 seconds, and as time goes on, you start to gradually win the round. And I think that's how Usyk kind of sees it. Usyk wins literally seconds of the round rather than minutes of the round. Honestly, I think the fight is won and lost way before fight week. It's won and lost before fight week. I do. I think
I've never seen him look so surprised.
No, because look, you've done the training already.
Yeah.
You've gone through it mentally already.
Yeah.
Fight week's a week where you don't really train as hard anyways. You know, unless somebody's going to sit there and think, damn, this guy looks too confident, and then the one fighter's going to get disheartened. We ain't going to see that with Fury. We ain't going to see that with Usyk. I think both fighters have obviously been there many, many times before. They know what to expect. Yeah. The fight is won way before fight week. I mean, you know what? I saw something, someone said to me, your first bit of confidence comes from the way you train. Yeah. And it's the truth.
See, sorry, I interrupt you because I'm little. That I think you're right in that way, but I sort of put it. I don't think any of the stuff, the build up to fights. I mean, never happened to me anyway, and I wasn't a tough guy either.
Well, no one cared about
no one could intimidate me.
Right.
Not even you. But I mean, I just want to pat you. I've got to go back to what you said at the very beginning of the show. Like a little dig at my world title, and I'm waiting for you outside when this is finished. Because by the way, it took about 5 takes. He said like 5 times. He winded me up. But it's the night before the fight, and so that's where. And we've all done it. Sometimes we've all didn't run when we should have run. Didn't know. We've all in fights early in our career, and the night before the fight, when you put your head on the pillow, you can't sleep. and all the thoughts of things you didn't do
No,
in
I hear
training.
that. I hear that.
That's it. So I think it's a bit of both there.
100%. I know what you're saying.
If you haven't done the work, it comes back to haunt you the night before.
Yeah, they always say the first time you come up in a fight, you're gonna know it in a face-off, more or less. The night before the fight, the weigh-in, is when you're gonna realise when things are gonna hit you. But yeah, I do agree with you.
Listen, you've bounced back, but you've just suffered your first pro defeat and on a huge show in an all-British bout. Don't get me wrong, you went down, you stuck your tongue out. You weren't ironed out, but when you woke up the next day, was it ego damaged? Your self-belief damaged? What? Don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing you and Tyson and Undisputed fights, but you know, you're in the same game, you've been in the same gyms. What did you felt was taken away from you?
For me, you just start to look at, what did I do wrong there? Ego damage, no, because I'm a fighter. I know what happens, and you know what you sign up for. And I always say, if I did golf and that happened to me, then maybe I'll be a bit surprised. But I'm going in there to fight, so look, someone's gonna have to come up short on the night. But you never think it's gonna be you.
Yeah.
And
you can't think you could. You wouldn't do it if you thought that.
Exactly. And look, the next day you wake up is a bit more, damn, what did I do wrong? I need to get back to the gym now. Rectify that. And look, in my position, I looked at it as, look, I don't feel like you won, I just feel like I lost in a sense. Because I think, damn, I know I could have actually won that fight, you know, if I stayed switched on in that position there, if I did this, if I did that. So look, I was more beating myself up more so in terms of like, damn, I switched off and I should have done this, I should have done that. But yeah, look, I went back to the gym, I did what I needed to do. And yeah, we're fighters, so you kind of know what to do to move forward.
Who do you think is the better boxer? And if Tyson was 6'2" or 3 like Usyk, would
That's a stupid question.
Would that be his
but it takes away from his natural disadvantages, doesn't it?
No, but I mean, that's
Usyk has the amateur pedigree at that high level.
Ball game.
Yeah.
What if he could punch harder?
Yeah, exactly.
But my point is, how much of Tyson Fury's success is just based on him being a freak of fights?
I think he's an underrated boxer. You know, he does stuff wrong, but the stuff like the shoulder rolls and stuff, like, you know, just when I can't remember, it was Tom Schwartz, was it? Where he wasn't a high level opponent, but you just see against people where he moves in a way that smaller men move, and he could just get away with it. Being that tall might be an extra benefit, but I don't think this is a boxer-puncher kind of fight. They're both boxers, and neither of them are particularly big punchers. Tyson can punch, and Usyk isn't a particularly big puncher. Like you say, he wears you out. He's constantly twitching, and he's always in position. And it's the shot you don't see that hurts you, especially when you're knackered. So I think both of them can punch, but yeah, like I said before, I can't see Usyk doing anything differently to what he's done. That is good enough to win the fight. That's good enough to dominate everyone. But I can see Tyson doing things differently in this fight.
I think it's hard to say who's the better boxer because Usyk's the more structured, so you tend to think, but technically is he better? You think technically because everything's inside his... You should punch inside your body frame, which means every time you throw a punch, you turn into the shot. That engages all the muscles, all the big punching muscles in the back of your body. So all this looks great if you've got a six-pack. There's nothing to make you knock people out. You see punches like him, look at the back of his body, it's huge. The traps here, your bum and your legs and whatever the terminology is for your bum muscle.
Any excuse to wiggle it about.
I'm old school. Yeah, but it's all there and you push off the back leg. But if you punch inside your body frame, you turn correctly into the shot. So he's like that. He's structured in his work. Even when he sort of leans, he'll lean the body in the right direction. As you mentioned earlier in the show, his balance is perfect. So he's always in balance every time he moves. So you tend to think he's technically better. But Fury is such a naturally gifted fighter that he can do what Usyk does.
At his weight.
Off balance. But he can do it off balance.
And you can't prepare for that.
No, so when he's in a position he shouldn't be able to throw, and he can rattle off a two-punch combination. The difference between these two is one throws in combinations, one throws in twos. I think you'll find that. I think the stats will probably prove that. Is that Usyk can throw bam, 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 bam. Fury, even if he throws 4, it's very often 1-2 and a gap, then 1-2 again.
Yeah, and going back, sorry to cut you. Going back to what you're saying. Oh, does Fury have the advantage of being 6'9" and all of this stuff? Honestly, I think it's not a way to. I think it's a bad way to look at it in terms of if Usyk was Fury's size, Usyk might not be who he is today. He might not be able to carry that weight and be as tall and be as range as he would be. So I think
being small could be your friend.
It's my own
So I think, yeah, I
Be
think
a small, I can be your friend.
yeah, sometimes
punching down as well. It's like you lose power punching down.
exactly. You are who you are, and make it work the way you are.
And
So
missing shots is exhausting. So if you've got a smaller target in front of you, an elusive smaller target, and you're missing, that's even more tiring. Although you would say yes, I mean Fury is accurate and he works the body well against Usyk. So if you can't hit the head, go for the body. But still, you could say he's going to overpower him. But if you can't get hold of him, you're going to be worn out. You're going to be knackered. So, like you say, use your physique, use your size to your advantage.
use your attributes.
Yeah, your attributes.
Being tall can be being tall and it's not so much his height. His reach is massive. Fury, it's bigger than his height. You know what I mean? It's unproportional to his height. He has crazy long arms, which is a huge advantage. Yeah. But being tall can be a plus and a negative because you're just a bigger target to hit if your timing's wrong. So, and what Usyk can do so well, he punched. So, Fury's jab was brilliant at times. He didn't use it enough in that fight. That's the punch that wins him the fight, whether he's pushing you back with it or stopping you from coming forward. But with that, once you do that straight shot, which is what you should throw, is what Usyk and Lomachenko, from the same trainer, they work around that. That's what they need, that stick to go to the side, to pivot around the corners. That's where they do their best work. And Usyk jumps in from that. So Fury realised that, and sometimes he started off in the first round flicking the jab out and then stopped using it because Usyk would go boom, boom, boom and slip in and go bam, bam, bam over the top. And then he thought, I'm not doing that again. So
I've got a question now, moving forward. What happens if Usyk wins? And what happens if Fury wins?
I hope Usyk vanishes off into the ether.
he's completely
got
boxed
nothing
out.
else.
Undisputed.
He's got nothing.
Olympic gold, 2-weight, cleaned out the division.
And he's beat every fight of his, except for Deontay Wilder, who went past the sell-by date, obviously, by the time Usyk got to where he is.
I would hate for Usyk to hang around now. He's 38 years old, he's got a country at war, he's got 4 beautiful children. Go away.
He's beat everyone, hasn't he?
And no, I don't
Got the
think
belts.
yeah.
He's already an all-time great, already now.
Yeah.
Or not just a great of his generation, an all-time great.
What happens to Fury then?
If Fury wins, he becomes, I think, for me...
Trilogy?
I think so, but I think even him, I think that he's the best heavyweight of his generation up until he got beaten by Usyk.
Yeah.
So, but Fury's not an all-time great. He's one of the greats of his generation. He's not an all-time great. I don't think so. I was lucky enough to be ringside for both Wilder, the first 2 Wilder-Fury fights. And when he said after the first fight, when he boxed so well, I thought he won. And I was gutted. I don't know him and I don't care who wins. I have no dog in any race. But I think, I thought that I felt sorry for him because he had no chance, he had no right to be in that ring. He had no business being in that ring against Wilder. From where he'd come from, or the problems he had, overweight, and even the warm-up fights he hadn't looked great. He hadn't boxed anyone any good, I don't think. And then to go against Wilder, it was just a recipe for disaster for him. And the way he boxed so well, so controlled, I thought it was a brilliant performance. And then in the rematch, when he said, I'm going to walk through him, we thought that's typical Fury, just winding people up, trying to get into Wilder's head. And then when Wilder's expecting a war, he does what he always does, what he does best, make you miss, make you pay. That's what that was Fury's MO. That was what he did so well. But the way he walked through him, he stuck to his word. The way he walked through him, and I just thought...
Stuck to it. He said that in sparring. I helped him for that fight, and he said, yeah, I'm putting on Wilder this fight.
So did he do that in all your spars, just try and beat you up, just try and knock your spark out?
So when we sparring, I mean, as you guys will probably know, sometimes sparring's harder than fights.
Yeah,
Doing
often.
bounds and bounds and bounds, and you're going for it. So he said, yeah, my game plan, you guys, boys, I'm going to put on Wilder, I'm stopping him. We're like, what? Yeah. He's like, I'm going to stop him. I'm going to walk him down.
That was amazing when I'm watching that live.
I did it.
I think the thing with Fury, right, is I think people were too hot and cold with him, like the general public, because after he'd done that against Wilder, he was the greatest heavyweight that had ever lived. I couldn't walk down the road about someone telling me that. And I sort of thought, oh, he's brilliant. He's 6'9", he's very unorthodox, but let him prove it. And then when he got dropped by Ngannou, oh, he's the worst heavyweight that's ever lived. Oh, he's been exposed by Usyk. I think if he goes and he beats Usyk, a third fight, whatever, he's proven that he can beat an all-time great. Yeah, Usyk isn't a massive heavyweight, but he can beat the heavyweights, and he is of that elite level.
Bearing in mind the excellent stuff we've got from Andy Lee, and you've obviously heard all of my really important opinions, I'm going to come to you now, guys, and ask you for your prediction that comes from your head, but then the prediction that comes from your heart as well. Go on, Dan.
Right, so like I said, I can't see Usyk doing anything more than he did the first fight. If I'm honest, the way I thought the first fight would play out, I'd never write Usyk off because that is enough to beat anyone. But the way the first fight went over the first 7-8 rounds is how I saw it going. Usyk being competitive and then Fury's size and the body shots getting to him. When I look at Tyson Fury and how he deals with rematches, you said about the deciding the picture. Yeah. Has his ego gone? Maybe he's just focused on not burning that energy. Maybe he's putting that energy into
just
the rematch.
mature.
Yeah.
Doesn't care anymore.
So
that's not sorry, Tyson.
Nah, but yeah, next week he'll prove us all wrong, won't he?
So your head says?
Oh, my head.
You're paying you by the word.
Right, my head says Usyk on points, but I think that Fury can adjust and pull this one off. I would say points, but another close fight, but just not switch off this time.
Barry, your heart?
No, my heart's not in it. I don't care who wins.
Your ex-wife said that.
Yeah, I know, yeah. In a mansion. She emailed me from my bedsit. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. My heart. I don't care who wins. I genuinely don't. I just love boxing, so I don't care. I just want to see a good fight. But everything should point to Oleksandr Usyk winning because he won the first one. I mean, you got the two most adaptable heavyweights in the generation. Mm-hmm. Fury's slightly more adaptable, I think, but I think they're both massively adaptable. But I think now that Fury knows what that pressure feels like with Oleksandr Usyk, and he can adapt more than, say, Anthony Joshua can, I do give him the edge.
Big man?
Heart is saying Tyson. My head. See, the thing is, my answer's not going to be as long as that. The thing is, I just see the fight being a knockout.
Yeah.
It's not going to go to the decision.
Could, yeah.
Judges ain't going to be needed this time around, 100%. I think if I have to tip it to anyone, it's going to go to Fury. But I wouldn't be surprised if Usyk did win it again. But I see it being a knockout. So it's hard to say. I think my heart's with, obviously, Fury. My head's probably with Usyk. But I see it being a knockout. That's 110%.
We have to shut down. Thank you so much to David Adelaide, coming from Queensby Forest, English heavyweight champion. Thank you very much for Barry, an excellent former world champion and brilliant DAZN pundit, and Daniel Morley.
Cheers.